So Spider-Man 2 is now out. Critics are raving. It's doing extremely well. Me and Bobby are also loving the game, so if you have clicked on it hoping for a hate speech, we do enjoy the game. It's by no means perfect, and we're going to get into that in just a second. There's going to be no main story spoilers, so don't worry if you haven't finished the game yet. It's literally just going to be early game chat, some spoilers on systems, but you shouldn't have anything else really spoiled for you. So I'm currently 50% through. I'm probably about 6.5 hours, I would assume. Bobby, how far are you at the moment?
I'm about 4 hours in, so just a wee bit behind you. And I've been doing a lot of side stuff as well, so I think in the story, I'm definitely behind you on that.
Okay, you're behind me in the story, and overall, you're quite positive on the game.
Yeah, it's the only game that can take Game of the Year for me after Liza P. So very positive on it, but I do have quite a few issues with the game.
Right, so let's get into it. So let's talk about the world. So obviously, going off, Spider-Man 1 came out in 2018. It's now 5 years later, and we've got Spider-Man 2. My only kind of concerns, what do you think about the world compared to Spider-Man 1? Are you happy with kind of how much they progressed? Obviously, they've added on new areas. I'm actually forgetting the areas and what they're called, but it's obviously like the suburbs.
Yeah, the areas that they've actually added is Brooklyn, Queens, and the East River. So it's kind of like another, pretty much I would say near enough the same size of a map. They've added onto the right-hand side.
Interesting, yeah. So do you think, like, this is where I'm going at, because if you look at Zelda, okay, obviously with the Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, they added on the underworld. I'm going to forget the name of it, and summer is at the top.
Skyward.
Do you think
Sky
it just... It's Sky Islands, exactly. Do you think it warranted the dev time?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say. They've done 2018, they've done Miles Morales 2 years later, which was pretty much the same map. This is pretty much the same map again, but you've got obviously the added Brooklyn and Queens on the other side. So you're talking about 5 years.
And this is where I'm going to get at, because it seems maybe a bit harsh being like, oh, it's 5 years and the game is very similar. The game's obviously a lot different in some aspects, but it's almost just more iterative than a sequel.
It just feels like a continuation, if you know what I mean, from playing. Like if I was playing 2018 now and going into this here, it just feels like a continuation. Like it doesn't feel like fucking like a step up when you talk about like even God of War there and God of War Ragnarok. Like it just feels like you're just continuing on from the same game. There's not like, oh, this is actually a completely new experience, if you know what I mean.
The only thing I would even say about God of War though is obviously he went back to Midgard.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure if it's throughout the whole thing, but a lot of new areas, whereas this, you do have generally, it's like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. It's the same areas generally. Now, maybe are we being too harsh? Because you look at games, you got Arkham Asylum 2009, straight on to Arkham City, which was 2012, I think. 3 years. And it's a brand new city and it's totally different than Arkham Knight. They changed it again completely. This feels like Assassin's Creed 2 to Brotherhood to Revelations from what I played recently. It doesn't feel like a big step up. Obviously there is stuff that we're going to get into in a second, but overall with the world, do you think, and this is where I'm going to get at, what can you do different? Because the problem is it's with New York. What do you do?
That's what I mean. Like what can you
Gotham.
do? Like what else can you do without taking them to a completely different location? You know,
it's a really hard one, like in terms of what do you actually do or what do you add to shake things up, because it is very much, and I'll say this, it's very much based on realism, isn't it, compared to certain other Spider-Man games. So
they've added a lot more of like NPCs just walking about and traffic and all as well. As soon as they've added quite a lot more of that there, so I think they're trying to make it feel a wee bit more alive.
I can't help but compare it to Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, and people are probably going to be thinking, well, they're never going to be able to, that's it now, and I guarantee you they're going to end up doing something totally different in the future, and it will make sense, but it's not my job to really figure out what is it you do. In terms of the world, is there anything else that you wanted to see different that you feel like you haven't? Because obviously I think where we're at now, I don't foresee it changing up, and obviously slight spoilers at the start, the Sandman attack did change up kind of the dynamic of the world. There's stuff like that can happen that I'm guessing is obviously going to be a bit changing off
see with the Sandman, the actual destruction that he causes, that kind of stays. And apparently as you progress even further, I know you're near halfway, I'm a wee bit behind you, but more destructive things might happen and the city actually still stays like that and still reacts to it. So that there is nice to see, rather than like that big Sandman attack happening and then you go back and everything's just all rebuilt. So at least you're still having
it's good.
The damage aftermath from it all.
No, so like I said, like obviously we're still both early days. I'm halfway through and maybe I'm making too early a judgment on that. But like a day-night cycle would have been nice maybe. I don't think there is one at all in the game.
Yeah, I've seen
maybe stuff like that just
to
shake it up a wee bit.
Because like it's really nice when it's nighttime, and they would have liked to see that actually just a cycle. Because if you're some people actually just like to swing about and just enjoy being Spider-Man and doing maybe the side crimes and stuff, but so they maybe want that kind of immersion of the day and night cycle. So something like wee things like that there, they probably could add to make the world feel a bit more realistic and a wee bit more alive.
And to actually touch on the swinging about, so the traversal, with the traversal here, I felt traversal in Spider-Man 1 was very slow. Obviously that was dictated to how fast you can stream in assets. So with the PS5, this already what I'm seeing with the traversal, the speed's massive and it's great.
I think it's fantastic. I think the web feels fantastic, just like it did in the 2018 in Miles Morales. Great use of the DualSense. Don't see how they can improve on the web slinging. I think they've pretty much mastered it. The only other thing they've added for traversal is the web glider, which
brilliant. This
is where I think we might disagree on it. I think it works and it feels awesome to use, but for me personally, it's not really something that you actually see Spider-Man using traditionally. So I see what they're trying to do, trying to like innovate and make the game feel like the traversal has improved from the previous games, which yes, it has, but for me, I don't like it.
I love it. The best addition. How do you go back to Spider-Man 1? See, with the wind kind of gathering you and pushing you forward as well,
yeah.
And then combining that with the web slinging, streaming how fast the gameplay is and how fast the suit is and things, I think it's absolutely phenomenal. That's one thing. I'm like, how do you ever go back to losing that again?
I would happily get rid of the web glider.
You're mental.
I'm serious, like,
absolutely crazy.
I'm not saying that it's bad. I think it's fantastic. It feels really, really good to use, and the sense of speed that you get as well going through the city and with the slingshots as well. So I do think it feels incredible, but for me, it's not Spider-Man.
What we also differ is on the combat. So you had said last night, I had wrote in that the combat is so good. You just said it's okay. You're not really a big fan of the combat?
I think it's good. It's fine. It's the same as the last game, pretty much. Like, they haven't really changed it up in terms of how it feels or anything. They've added some new gadgets and things like that, but then I don't like that because I'm just like a traditional Spider-Man fan. I just want to, do the punching and the dodging and stuff. So one area I think they could improve on is I want to lock on. There's no lock on system. You just kind of have to look at the next enemy and start hitting. Whereas like if I have a lock on, I feel like, I'm a wee bit more like engaged with it. I can kind of move and, turn and twist and turn and do all that other kind of stuff with it and just feel a wee bit more into it. They've added a parry, which, me, I love a good parry. So I think the parry's fantastic. But then again, with a lock on, it just could be a wee bit more tighter. But I just think with the added parry, it would make sense for a lock on as well.
I don't see why they don't add it, because this is one thing with accessibility settings. Obviously in this game, again, like all Sony, you've got the accessibility there and it's great. Yeah. So it's something that could be added, and at the end of the day, it's, if you want to use it, great, but by default we don't want you to play that way, for example, you could do. No, I love the combat. Now, the 2018 Spider-Man have your abilities with the mechanical spider and such.
You did have, I can't remember offhand, there was like you had wee grenades and things like that as well, so there was gadgets.
I don't think you had the kind of...
You didn't have...
I think it was more when Miles Morales brought in those different abilities, wasn't it?
Yeah, so he had like the Venom punch and things like that, and then obviously in this Spider-Man, Peter has his wee mechanical arms. He uses them quite a lot there. So this isn't really spoilers, by the way. This is in the first hour. So the likes of that there, that I don't mind. But that's what I was saying last night, where it feels a wee bit like Final Fantasy 16 to me. Mm-hmm. Whereas you are just kind of mindlessly hitting and dodging and then using your abilities as well at the same time, which, I mean, it's still good. Like, I don't have any main issues with the combat. I do enjoy it, but I just feel like it could be a wee bit better. They could have improved on it a wee bit.
See, I find there's a good, like, you've different of your gadgets, and certain gadgets, the one I love is the R1 square, where it grabs everyone and kind of pushes them bundled together.
Yeah.
And then if you pair that up with, for example, Miles Venom punch on the ground,
Venom
it works well. So you can, the Venom slam, so you can kind of pair things up. I really do. I like the combat.
Yeah.
How could you improve it? I don't see how you can improve it. It's like, what else do you do?
Yeah, that's all I want as a lock on. I'm really happy with the combat. Like, just give me a lock on, make it feel a wee bit tighter.
Now, the one thing I think could be improved, from as far as I played, I've done a good bit of side content. I'm not too sure if it does change up a lot more, but if I compare the side content here to even like Arkham Knight and the Arkham games, I feel like their world building side content was a lot better. Now, have you came across any main missions? I know there is the Sandman shards you get.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of them.
That type of content, I've been doing them.
Yeah.
But if I compare that to Arkham Knight, where you're doing the Bat, for example, there's just a lot more lore going on that's a bit more interesting. And now there's things that I don't want to spoil, but later on that happen. But I don't find it is as nearly as interesting as was in the Arkham games.
Yeah, so let me stop you there. So see some of these side quests as you go on further in the game. This is just from what I've heard from reviews and podcasts, is that it actually does add a lot more story context, even the main story, some of the side stuff. So they have kind of fleshed that out a wee bit. It's not just going and collecting and doing random crimes. So there is actually a purpose in doing it, and kind of adds more context to the main story.
Okay, so it's not like Black Cat in Spider-Man 2018 where she has cats in windows and you have to take pictures of them, is that right?
That's not right. Like that. There actually is. So there still is them kind of collectathons, obviously, with doing the pictures and things like that. So I love all that stuff, but they have improved on the side content, I think, personally.
Yeah, so that really just leads us more then to the performance.
First of all, actually, I want to say the game looks absolutely phenomenal. There's ray tracing on all the modes, and there's quite a lot of modes you can kind of choose from, especially if you have a 120Hz TV with VRR. You can kind of change it up. So what I went for was 120Hz mode. I've locked it at 60, I think.
But what's made you decide to lock it straight to 60
and
rather than doing the uncapped? Okay.
I think the resolution kind of goes from like sort of 1080 to 1440 and 120. I'm not too sure. I didn't actually watch anything. I just thought, you know what, just give me a lock 60, give me ray tracing, and give me like high fidelity as possible while getting that 60.
Now it's a lot cleaner looking than 2018. 2018 had kind of like a smoky, foggy effect, whereas this, they've kind of eliminated that, and it almost makes it look a bit worse, but obviously there's a lot more viewing distance. And when I say worse, I mean actually in the distance of, you know, the buildings and such. There's no smog almost.
Yeah.
I feel like they probably should have kept that in to give it a wee bit more atmospheric kind of effect on it. Made it work well, but I think overall, like, I'm really happy with the game. I think the game's great fun playing it. Like, what a fucking year for games, like games in general. You said it last night.
Yeah,
it's incredible.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I want to ask you one final question before we actually finish off.
Okay.
So we've actually said throughout the video, like, they've done this here, this is amazing, how can they improve? We don't know, can they improve? So with that being said, do you think that this is peak Spider-Man? Like, it doesn't get much better than this?
No, gets better.
You think so?
Gameplay, I don't know how you improve the gameplay.
Yeah.
It's the side content and the world building could be improved on.
The textures.
Characters, you know, even if it was more comic booky, I would have maybe preferred, but I'm loving it. I think the game's fantastic. It will be improved. I'm sure one day we'll get a Spider-Man game that will be better than this, because that's just how games are. They're going to always improve.
Yeah.
It's not our job to come up with how it's going to be done, but I'm sure it will be done.
Thinking about it, like me personally, I don't know what they can improve apart from like wee tiny things, like even what you touched on with the story and the character development, and me with the lock on day and night cycle, just wee small things they got there. But I think in terms of an actual Spider-Man game and the feel of it, I think they've nailed it.
The game is absolutely top quality at the moment. Like, I'm really enjoying it, but I'm excited to play more of it, and we will definitely get a review up, or at least a review discussion between us both at the end. But
100%.
We just want to get some impressions out initially, and if anyone's obviously playing the game and they disagree with us, or they think that there is things that could be improved on, let us know in the comments below, and we'll look forward to them, and maybe we'll talk about them next time.